My name is Susan Onysko, and I am a travel and portrait and cosplay photographer. I started in photography in 2004, wanting to take better photos of my kids. And I went on a travel workshop and I was hooked. So I started traveling more, I started doing portraits and weddings at home, started selling my work. That led to exhibits in the US and abroad in Europe. So I got hooked on travel. Started going all around looking for interesting people in new cultures to photograph. And then my kids took me to my first Comic Con, which was actually Wizard World Columbus. And I was like, I'm traveling the world trying to find interesting people to photograph, and they're right in my backyard. I mean, it just blew my mind, and they were super friendly, and they wanted their picture taken, which for a photographer, you know, it's like the dream, right? Most people don't want their photo taken. These people want their photograph taken, so it was a wonderful thing. And that's when I discovered it, and I thought, you know, I want to bring a full studio setup here. We approach cosplay from a studio setup. So we bring 60 backgrounds with us, many lights, modifiers. We treat our cosplayers that come in like supermodels, like rock stars, and we truly try to make it an experience for them. When we go to a convention, we rarely schedule shoots beforehand. What we do is we basically go out on the floor and we do cold calls. So we'll find an interesting cosplayer, someone who's amazing, and we'll go up to them and we'll start talking to them. We give them a project description sheet so they know what's going on. We show them business cards that have photo examples on the back. We show them pictures of the room so they know they're not coming into some dark basement with me. And then if they're interested and they're above 18 or a parent is there, we have them set up an appointment time. We give them a golden ticket with their time slot and their the room number that we're at. When a cosplayer comes in for our photo shoot, the first thing we do is we look at backgrounds. I take photos of backgrounds ahead of time and we have them on my iPad. So we go through and together we pick out like what background best suits the character. And then we figure out the lighting. Is it gonna be dramatic lighting? Is it gonna be happy, beautiful lighting? I'm always in like constant communication with our cosplayer. We show them kind of how we build the lights. So this is what the light looks like on the background now. We're gonna add a light to your face. Well, you see you have this really interesting sword on the side of your hip. We're gonna shoot a light there so it brings more attention there. So in the beginning, I started shooting cosplay. I knew I wanted to do some sort of project, but I wasn't sure what. So I thought maybe the beauty of cosplay or the color of cosplay. But as I was shooting in Ohio, the conventions stopped responding as much as they did in the beginning. And I was like, I'm gonna travel a little bit and go to other states and see if I can get into conventions there. And we did. And it was then I realized that, you know, I travel a lot internationally. I've been to all 7 continents. I've been to numerous countries, but I haven't even been to all 50 states. So what I decided was I was going to find a comic convention in each state and visit it and photograph cosplayers and call the book Cosplay 50 and the project Cosplay 50. So I looked for Alaska and Hawaii, and I figured if there was conventions in those states, there must be conventions everywhere, and there, sure enough, there was conventions in Alaska and Hawaii, and so that was it, Cosplay 50. So the end game for the Cosplay 50 project is a book. A coffee table book, mostly large photos with names and maybe short descriptions on the cosplayer. We've been all around. We are on state number 19 now. We've been up to Seattle, we've been in Oregon, we've been to Austin, Texas, SuperCon in Florida, Wizard World New Orleans, Chicago, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, New York, Awesome Con in DC. Done a lot so far, but when you look at a map, we have a lot more to go. We're gonna be in Rhode Island this year. We're gonna head out to California, and then next year we have Las Vegas. I would love to get into some conventions like Dragon Con, D23, C2E2. Any convention we get into, we pretty much go to. I think it's hard to get a room at a convention, so if you're just a photographer on the floor, it's a little different. So we try to look for conventions that are 3-day conventions. We bring a lot of equipment. It's hard, it takes a long time for us to set up and tear down. I send out emails monthly to all sorts of conventions, big and small, in every state in the United States. And those who respond back, about 5% usually are the ones that we end up going to. So we travel with a lot of equipment, and it gets pretty gnarly. It takes us many hours to pack it all up from the studio setup I have in my house, and then we load it. Sean starts driving. He drives about 8 hours a day. We pre-plan the hotels that he's going to be staying at, and you know, like when we went to Washington, it was like a 4.5-day drive. We have like 1,600 pounds of equipment in the van, and it's a lot. It definitely affects the ride of the vehicle too. And we're hoping to get a Sprinter soon, so maybe that'll help us out a little. We'll just bring more stuff, I imagine, though. You know, our biggest obstacle in completing this project is getting into conventions. We email constantly. It's kind of hard. Some convention centers are really big and they want a lot of money for us to rent out a room. Other convention centers they're smaller and they don't even have a room to give us. So I think we're gonna have to start changing our approach. Next year, we're actually gonna try out being on an expo floor and having all our equipment out there. It's all gonna be draped and barricaded off, but it's security-wise, it gives me the shivers. And it also kind of makes me nervous because I've spent the last few years trying to make this like a special project for people. And we have privacy in our room and people can relax there. And when we're on the floor, it's almost like we're gonna have like a peanut gallery, like people eating their pizza, walking by, watching the photo shoot. And I think it's really hard to make someone feel comfortable in that environment. In the future, it would be nice if I could get to 10 conventions a year. That's my goal. And then in 3 years, I would be done with the United States of America. So I have many photographers that have inspired me, and from Tom Bull, Lindsay Adler, Chris Knight, Joel Grimes, Dave Black. I mean, the list goes on. And I have to say, for cosplayers, I get inspired by everybody. I get inspired by the simplest cosplay that nobody thought to do, or this most elaborate thing that took this person a year to build. I've actually never cosplayed myself. I think if I were to, I'd be Ariel, but not the happy sunshine Ariel. I'd be like a darker Ariel. For people who are new to photography, I think it can be really intimidating. All the technical aspects of a camera and how to take a photo. And I think if you just start out on whatever it is, P mode, program mode, professional, and work on composition first and finding the right angles and light that you want your subject in, I think the rest to come. That's what I did. Eventually I went to A mode, aperture priority for Nikon shooters, and then I started shooting in manual. And it's the same for lighting. I think people get bogged down by the technical details of things. And if you think of lighting as cooking and light the things you want to light on your subject and don't light the things you don't want lit, it works pretty darn well. So I have a lot of gear that I like. And I wouldn't say I'm a gear nerd, but I definitely enjoy some things. One of the things I love is my ProPhoto B1s and B1Xs. They are the lights that I use, and they're completely cordless, which I think makes our room that we use a lot safer, because cosplayers are walking around with these big costumes on. Half the time they can't even see, they have contacts in. And I think that really helps us out. I have a 6-foot Octa, which I love on people. It lights them beautifully.
Doing shoots with Susan is such a different experience than doing anything with other photographers I've worked with. It seems so much more professional and such a well-done photo shoot with all the different lightings she has, all the backgrounds you have to pick from.
It definitely felt more professional. There was the entire setup, whereas normally a photographer will try to find like maybe a smaller corner where there's less people. This was a more professional setup and then a more professional experience.
It absolutely made me feel like a rock star or a supermodel, or just like looking at the pictures as they were being taken. I would look at the screen and be like, oh, wow, that's me. That's what I look like. And I look like a different person. I look like the character I'm trying to be. And that's a really cool experience to have.
You get to have all the focus on you. There's no distraction from anything going on at the convention. So I think that is actually probably the most professional experience I've had thus far at a shoot at a convention.
Well, the fact that I'm able to like have that private room to like, I can focus, and there's not a lot of like noise back in the background, and no one's like not really like distracting me. And it's like, I love like intimate settings, because I think that's where I thrive the best, in like small intimate settings where I can really like let my freak flag fly, and I can really like, you know, shine with the character.
I loved the golden ticket. I thought that was a great little experience piece. And it was just overall really nice and like comfortable and kind of away from like prying eyes, which is great. I felt really comfortable with the photographer. She was super nice, and everyone there. I was just like full of laughs and having a great time from start to finish. So.
If a convention would like to have us at their event, they can email me at susie@susanonescophoto.com, or they can find me on Instagram at Susan Onysko, on Facebook at Susan Onysko Photography, and online at susanonescophoto.com.